Hi everybody, and welcome again to Boxing's Greatest Champions. Looking back, in each division, the finest champions of all time. Our last show will be capped off with a vote by the Boxing Writers Association of America, their experts, as to who were the greatest champions of all time. You in your own mind can do your own picking, of course. When you think of Don Dunphy, you think of broadcasting fights. Don Dunphy, in my mind, is the finest blow-by-blow announcer we've ever had. He's our guest today to take a look at this light heavyweight division. Don, how many fights have you done altogether?
First, Kurt, I'd like to thank you for the nice introduction. About the number of fights, I can't pinpoint it exactly. I'd say around 2,000.
A lot of punches there you broadcast.
Indeed,
left
yes.
to the body, right to the head. How did you start? What was your first big fight?
Well, the first big fight was, I practically started at the top, I guess. The Joe Louis-Billy Conn fight for the heavyweight championship back in 1941. And it was a ring classic, Kurt, really.
What a way for a young announcer to start.
Indeed, yes.
And speaking of Billy Conn, he was one of the better light heavyweights. He fought at 174. And let's take a look now at some of the highlights of light heavyweight champ Billy Conn.
Patina with a white stripe on his trunks. He's a southpaw. Emilio the Mighty, they call him. Patina weighs 173 and a quarter tonight. Smiling Billy Conn, the glamour boy of boxing, weighs 170 and a quarter. Round 15, the final round of this battle for the world's light heavyweight championship between Billy Conn, the Pittsburgh Flash, and Emilio Patina. Madison Square Garden, New York, July 13th, 1939. Patina, the southpaw, white stripe down the side of his trunks. The end of the fight, it's all over. Here's the decision.
The winner and new world light heavyweight champion, Billy Conn.
Conn is actually ahead on points. Billy has been boxing brilliantly, using speed of foot and sparkling combinations to capture the lead in this fight thus far. Conn is giving away 25 pounds to the man rated by many as the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. Watch this tremendous flurry by Conn. Louis is hurt. He's in desperate trouble. He grabs Billy for support. Let's look at that great flurry in slow motion stop action photography. Conn gets in that ripping left. Billy lands another jolting left on the champ's chin. Conn's definitely looking for that knockout. In round 13, Louis shoots in two blistering rights and a left. He knows he's got to knock Billy out to win this fight. This is one of the greatest heavyweight championship fights in years. Watch Billy come back with a sensational flurry of punches. Conn is desperately trying to finish it right here and now, but the great Brown Bomber has other ideas. As the referee calls off the count, Billy will vainly attempt to rise before the fatal 10, but he doesn't quite make it. In sensational fashion, Joe Louis successfully defends his world's heavyweight championship against the magnificent light heavyweight champion of the world, Billy Conn.
Conn didn't look impressive against the left-hander Patina, but certainly did so against Joe Louis. Is that one of the greatest fights you've ever seen?
The Louis-Conn fight?
Right.
Oh, yes. Not the greatest, but certainly one of the maybe sixth greatest, I think.
What was your impression of Billy Conn?
Well, he was so fast. If you notice that picture, you've heard of the 1-2 in boxing. Well, Billy had a 1-2-3, which Louis could not cope with. through most of the fight. Billy would hook the left to the body, bring it up to the head, and bring it down to the body again. Lewis was going around trying to block the punch. I think the thing that hurt Khan was at the end of the 12th round, you notice he staggered Lewis, and that gave him the impression he could knock Lewis out. Had he coasted the last couple of rounds, content to win them on points, I think he would have won the title. But his bravado got the better of him, and he got knocked out in the 13th.
How did you rate Khan as a pure boxer?
I don't consider him such a great boxer. A boxer to me is somebody like Willie Pep or Willie Pastrana. I think Khan was a fighter, a real street fighter.
That's not bad, is it?
Not bad. He was very successful at it.
Speaking of a fighter, we're going to take a look now at a fellow who was a real fighter, Bob Fitzsimmons. They used to call him freckled-faced Bob, and he had that famous solar plexus punch, and he reigned back in 1935. And you fans are going to take a look now at a very rare film. This is the first film of a championship fight ever done in America, and it goes all the way back to 1897.
That's Corbett on the right, Fitzsimmons on the left. Corbett with his back to the camera is still ahead on points, and Fitzsimmons' nose is bleeding badly. But amazingly, the challenger is starting to press the fight. Corbett has been boxing well, keeping Fitzsimmons off, but Bob Fitzsimmons is definitely coming on. At this point, the all-nitrate film starts to disintegrate, but a somewhat viewable version of the 14th round knockout was assembled from potato chip-like fragments. Watch Fitzsimmons on the right step under Corbett's left jab and land his own hard left to the champion's midsection. Gentleman Jim collapses. Corbett has evidently had the wind knocked out of him. He's still down when the referee completes the 10 count, and Fitzsimmons raises his hand in triumph. In slow motion, let's see that again. Here comes the left hook that Fitzsimmons on the right later called his solar plexus punch. The champion goes down to his knees. He tries to crawl over to the corner of the ring to pull himself up by using the ring ropes. Meanwhile, Fitzsimmons stalks around, keeping a close watch on his progress. The referee and timekeeper, Masterson, seems out of sequence, but it is obvious that Corbett will not beat the count. Gentleman Jim has lost his heavyweight crown.
Don, if the fans watch closely, this next man, Jack Delaney, light heavyweight champ for 6 years, 40 years before the time of Muhammad Ali, they're going to sort of see Muhammad Ali 40 years earlier, the way he moves with his feet, a very clever man, quick with his feet in the ring. Now here he is, Jack Delaney.
Jack Delaney, world light heavyweight champion, comes out for round one. Jack immediately demonstrates the fast footwork, which is his trademark. Delaney is the taller of the two fighters and is wearing the dark trunks with his initials on them. Jimmy Maloney is wearing the all-dark trunks. Tonight's bout is a non-title fight. Maloney coming in way over the 170-pound light heavyweight limit. Jimmy actually weighed in tonight at 193 pounds. Light heavyweight champ Jack Delaney weighed in at 175 pounds. Here at Madison Square Garden tonight, the paid attendance is 17,400 people. Jack Delaney began boxing professionally in 1919, 8 years ago. In 73 professional bouts, Delaney has won 59, with 34 of those coming by knockout. A good 1-2 by Delaney. And there's the end of an excellent round one. In rounds 2 through 9, Maloney built up an edge in the scoring with his aggressive style. Here in the 10th and final round, he is definitely ahead in the scoring. In his last fight just 2 months ago, Jack KO'd Bud Gorman in the second round in Jersey City. And there's the bell ending the fight. The judge's decision goes to Jimmy Maloney who takes a hard-fought 10-round verdict over game light heavyweight champion Jack Delaney.
Don Delaney was an excellent boxer-puncher, wasn't he?
Incidentally, when I was a kid, Kurt, he was one of my favorites. He could do most everything. A fine light heavyweight champion, but as you can see from the pictures, he just was not big enough to cope with the heavyweights. Maloney was a fair heavyweight, but he wasn't a great heavyweight, and yet Delaney had a lot of trouble with him.
You're watching the champions of boxing. Today we're taking a look at the light heavyweight division. Our guest is Don Dunphy, the famous boxing announcer. And now we're going to take a look at one of the very best of all the light heavyweights who've carried the crown. And we're talking about Bob Foster, who stood 6'3" and weighed at the limit 175. Bob Foster.
Here's the world light heavyweight champion limbering up. Bob has been called by many the hardest puncher in the 69-year history of the light heavyweight division. It's customary, if not fashionable, not to wager on who will win when Foster fights, but rather on which round his opponent is going to be knocked out in. Foster has become quite a unique champion because his punching power has become legendary even while he is still the world light heavyweight title holder.
3-inch Bob Foster has a tremendous reach and is using it to good advantage with those long jabs against the 5-foot 7-inch champion. This is Tiger's first fight this year. In his last bout, 6 months before, Tiger scored a 12th round knockout over Roger Rouse in the first defense of the light heavyweight crown. The referee points Foster to a neutral corner and picks up the count over the dazed Dick Tiger. Dick can't make it. Bob Foster becomes the new light heavyweight champion of the world with an electrifying 4th round knockout of Dick Tiger. Bob Foster is wearing the blue trunks and Vicente Rondon is in the red. Both men are recognized as light heavyweight champions in various parts of the world. And tonight, the issue is being settled. Foster snaps his punches in a whip-like fashion, giving him a stunning power. He catches Rondon along the rope, rips home a left hook, and Rondon goes down. Rondon gets up, and Foster relentlessly pursues him. Bob Foster has held the light heavyweight title for 4 years since his spectacular one-punch KO over Dick Tiger and has been a very active champion, always in good shape. Vicente Rondon, a native of Venezuela, is a 7-year ring veteran with 42 professional bouts behind him, 21 of which he has ended by KO. Bob Foster, the constant aggressor, always tries to get in that one dynamite punch that will end it. A combination of punches and Rondon goes down for the second time. Bob Foster has done it again, proved that he's indeed the world light heavyweight champion and will go down with such giants as Bob Fitzsimmons, Billy Conn, and Archie Moore. Bob Foster, a super champion of the 70s. Challenger Mike Quarry in white striped trunks is undefeated in his 38 professional fights. But he's in there against one of the finest light heavyweight champions of all time, Bob Foster. Foster sticks out that long left jab with blinding speed, always on target. This This is Foster's 10th defense of the world light heavyweight crown. In his last fight 6 weeks ago, Bob destroyed WBA light heavyweight champion Vicente Rondon in 2 rounds to prove that he, Bob Foster, is the only true champion of the division. Both fighters exchanged crisp punches here in round 4. Champion Bob Foster looking for an opening. An explosive left hook, and Mike Quarry crashes to the canvas. The referee picks up the count over Quarry, but he is out cold. It's all over. Bob Foster retains the light heavyweight championship of the world with a crushing 4th round knockout of Mike Quarry in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Foster, with a devastating left hook, had 45 KOs in 62 fights.
Tremendous fighter. Big, too big for most of the light heavyweights. Look at him fighting Dick Tiger. He was Foster between 6'3" and 6'4", and Tiger was about 5'7". Incidentally, Kurt, I mentioned the fact that I thought that Jack O'Brien came closer to winning the heavyweight title than any former light heavyweight champion. There may be people who would say, well, Gene Tunney won it. However, I would say this, qualifying it, Gene Tunney was not recognized as the world light heavyweight champion at the time. He was the American light heavyweight champion.
Here's the fellow that you told a story about. His manager, or a newspaper man, created the light heavyweight division for his fighter here, Jack Root, all the way back to 1903.
Root, with the receding hairline, had defeated Kid McCoy, and 90 days after, took on the very capable George Gardner you see here in the longer trunks. Both men loved to fight, and the style, as you will see in the first motion picture ever made of a prize fight in the light heavyweight division, was always aggressive. Gardner had knocked out Jack Root before, and is a 5-3 favorite in this fight. The hard-punching Root is determined to reverse that defeat. The light heavyweight division was established as a result of the great gap between the middleweight division, with its limit of 160 pounds, and the heavyweight division, which had no weight limit at all. Thus, in 1903, the light heavyweight division was established with its limit of 175 pounds. Now Gardner is starting to get to Root. Root battles back, but Gardner's right-hand counters are beginning to take their toll, and Root is down. Gardner likes to punch at long range. Another right, and Root is down again. It's Gardner with a tremendous right and left, and Root is down. The referee says that's all, and George Gardner becomes the second light heavyweight champion by beating Jack Root.
Here's a fellow that was champ back in 1927, very famous fighter, light heavyweight champ, Tommy Loughran.
Tommy, who has set up his training camp at West Palm Beach, says the bigger they come, the harder they are to push over. That's all. Anyway, Tommy is out to win.
Loughran stands 5 feet 11 inches, 4 inches taller than Walker. Tommy also holds a weight advantage of 8 1/4 pounds, weighing 173 1/4 to Walker's 165. And this is a battle of champions. Walker, the middleweight king, is gunning for Loughran's light heavyweight honors. You will notice a distinct contrast in styles. Loughran fights from a classic straight-up stance. He's the master boxer, good at maneuvering and counterpunching. Walker uses a crouch from which he can slug to the head and body. Good counterpunching by Loughran. Notice that Walker is constantly boring in, trying to crack Loughran's defensive shell. Tommy tries to keep Walker at long range, making use of his reach advantage. But the stocky challenger is determined to move to close quarters. Now we move into the final 30 seconds of what has been a bruising, action-packed battle. The majority of ringside experts gave the edge to Loughran for his superior boxing in rounds 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10. On the other hand, Walker has been far more aggressive. In the final seconds, Walker rushes in, landing a good left. And it's all over. Judges Klein and Collins voted in favor of Loughran. Referee Miller gave it to Walker. So Tommy Loughran successfully defended his light heavyweight crown against Mickey Walker, March 28, 1929 in Chicago Stadium.
All right, Don Duffy, let's move into the 60s now. A fellow you know well, you broadcast many of his fights, Jose Torres, the light heavyweight champ.
In round 1, Bobo Olsen in the white trunks and Jose Torres show great respect for each other. Bobo Olsen is on the comeback trail. He won the middleweight title in a bout with Randy Turpin way back in 1953 and lost it to Sugar Ray Robinson 2 years later. After a brief retirement, he came back into the fight game and moved up into the light heavyweight division with considerable success. Jose Torres is one of the hot new contenders for Willie Pastrano's light heavyweight crown in 35 bouts. He's won 34, 24 by knockout. There is talk about an early match for the title if he gives a good account of himself tonight against Bobo Olsen. Notice Jose's distinctive stance. This style, with the gloves high against the face, was dubbed the peekaboo style when the sports writers observed Floyd Patterson using it. The action picks up as both fighters have had ample time to loosen up. The referee has to break the clinch. Torres is getting off. That hook to Bobo's side really hurt. A flurry of punches by Jose, and Olsen goes down. He rolls on his back. He's not going to get up. Torres got off that series of 7 punches in less than 2 seconds. New York fight fans show their approval as Jose Torres beats former champ Bobo Olsen a smashing 1-round knockout.
Evan Pastrano in the black trunks has his hands full with his dynamite punching challenger. Two quick left hooks send Pastrano to the canvas with a first knockdown in the fight. Pastrano looks very hurt. The champion rises to the count of 9 and Jose Torres moves in. Pastrano won the light heavyweight championship of the world in June of 1963, 2 years before, when he took a tough 15-round decision from Harold Johnson in Las Vegas. Challenger Jose Torres in the all-white trunks, putting a lot of pressure on champion Willie Pastrano here in round 7. Here in round 8, Torres looks to be the fresher of the two fighters. The challenger has been landing with punishing body blows and has not let up the pace for a moment. Willie Pastrana is unable to come out for round 9. Jose Torres scores a 9th-round knockout over Willie Pastrana to win the light heavyweight championship of the world.
And Don Jose sat right in that chair you're in as one of our experts on the lightweight, welterweight divisions. He picked Carlos Ortiz as the greatest lightweight of all time, and they both happen to come from the same hometown. You figured out.
I always thought that Jose had a great sense of humor. That's all I can say.
Very articulate man, very bright, and I think probably the only literary man that's ever come out of boxing to write books and become a newspaper columnist.
Well, he was a boxer first. He became literary afterward. He was a good fighter. Pastrana was a fine boxer, but he didn't have any particular punch. Incidentally, you might notice at this time there's more order in boxing, Kurt. We've had 10-round bouts, 15-round bouts, 20-round bouts for the title, but from now on there'll all be 15-round bouts.
And to the neutral corner instead of hovering over and hitting a fellow from
mandatory
behind.
8 count, etc., etc., etc.
One of the most famous names in boxing history. His fight with Dempsey will always be remembered. Light heavyweight champ from France, Georges Carpentier.
Carpentier in white trunks started as a flyweight and fought his way through every division until he won the light heavyweight championship of the world. Smith was noted for his tremendous stamina and his powerful two-handed attack to the body. In round 2, the aggressive Carpentier hits Smith with a hard right. Smith is down. Smith gets up and hangs on, trying to clear his head. In round 8, again Dick Smith is very tired, but Carpentier continues to pour it on. Now, Carpentier sees his opening, gets home with a left, a short right uppercut, and a right. And Smith is down again. Georges Carpentier knocks out Dick Smith in 8 rounds. Carpentier, to the right of your screen, leaps in with a right. The Frenchman likes to box at long range, but Cook stays in close. The referee struggles to separate the fighters as they're locked in a clinch. Carpentier, now with his back to the camera, is fresh from his epic bout with Jack Dempsey. The Frenchman was KO'd by the Manassamola in 4 rounds. In round 4, Carpentier attempts to box at long range, but Cook keeps pouring in. The Englishman, who is wearing a black belt, has been piling up points for his aggressiveness. The 28-year-old Carpentier started fighting professionally in the flyweight division at the incredible age of 13. Now watch as Carpentier lands with that right-hand bomb and follows it with a 1-2. Cook looks like he's out cold. He rolls over on his back, tries to clear his head as the tuxedo referee nonchalantly completes the count. Carpentier gets himself on the winning road with an explosive 4th-round knockout win over the durable George Cook.
Handsome Georges Carpentier arrives in England, where he smiles warmly for the photographers. George is a great favorite in France and has the charming manner of a movie hero. Francois Descamps, Carpentier's manager, is in London to take over George's training. Bright and early the next morning, Carpentier is working out the kinks in those legs. His early training program is against lesser-known sparring partners, but it's all in fun for movie photographers. Then it's training for real. Carpentier has the utmost respect for Ted Kid Lewis, and in particular, Ted's punching power. It's no secret that every fighting Frenchman that has wandered over to England to fight Ted Kid Lewis has been flattened. Carpentier feels he can change that in 2 weeks when they meet. Lewis to the right of your screen. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier breaks. Lewis working hard on the inside as Carpentier The referee struggling to break the two men. The referee says break clean. A tremendous right by Georges Carpentier. Lewis is down. The referee counting over Ted Kid Lewis. It's all over in slow motion. Let's watch what happened. The referee tries to break the two fighters. Carpentier rips a right uppercut, and a blistering right to the jaw sends Ted Kid Lewis to the canvas. Carpentier has won by a first-round knockout. It's a gallant try by the great Ted Kid Lewis, but he was in there with one of the hardest punchers the light heavyweight division has ever seen.
Carpentier had the nickname the Orchid Man. It's always interesting to try and trace the origins of nicknames. Where do you think he got that nickname?
Well, it was before my time, Krut, but they say that whenever he came to the United States on a ship, he was always wearing an orchid, and you can take it or leave it, whether it's so or not.
Pretty good style to get off with an orchid.
Not bad.
In your lapel.
He lived pretty well. He was a great fighter from the flyweight class right up to the heavyweight.
I think he fought in every division, didn't he, from the flyweight on into the heavyweight division.
And I think when he fought Dempsey, the great Jack Dempsey, for the title, I don't think he weighed 165 pounds.
The old-timers you talked to, the boxing experts that you hung around, how did they rate Carpentier?
Well, I think they would rate him pretty high in the light heavyweight class and only fair in the middleweight class.
Here was a very respected champion, a fellow a lot of fighters didn't want to go up against, Harold Johnson. Don will tell you why.
Paul Andrews in the black trunks, Harold Johnson in the white. Both boys weigh the exact light heavyweight limit, 175 pounds. Andrews, a tall 6'3", is tonight the second-ranking contender in the division. It's a grueling, savage fight. Johnson sets himself and in his flurries wheels his shoulders, hooking with the left and then coming off of it with a shoulder motion for hard rights. Out they come for round 6, and this is destined to be the final one of the fight. Before it's 2/3 over, Paul Andrews in the black trunks is going to see the beginning of the end. Watch closely now. You're about to see the knockout, and you've got a ringside seat. Paul Andrews is really caved in by that short, deadly right. He gets to a sitting position, but that's all. Referee Al Burrow counts to 10, and the fight is over. Dr. Vincent Nardiello comes in to examine him, but Paul is going to be all right. Light heavyweight Harold Johnson is winner by a dramatic knockout in 1:46 of the 6th round. A smashing fistic upset in Madison Square Garden that helped make this one of the famous fights of recent years.
Harold Johnson found it awfully hard to get matches, Kurt. He was a wonderful boxer who could also hit. Now, you saw that short right hand with which he knocked out Andrews. I think he might have had a chance at the heavyweight championship, but he never got a shot at it. He was a good boxer, a fine hitter, and just too smart for most of his opponents.
One of the great measuring sticks in any field of athletics is longevity, and this man really did it for a long time. Archie Moore, 29 years of boxing, had 140 KOs, the all-time record, and look how long he held the light heavyweight championship. Let's take a look now at Archie Moore.
Round 1 in Madison Square Garden, 15 to go in this title fight. Archie Moore in the black trunks, Johnson in the whites. This is the 5th time these two have met. Moore won 3 of those matches, Johnson won, but all of them have been good fights and close ones. Johnson to a neutral corner. The challenger, Harold Johnson, is in the fight of his life, battling Archie Moore for the light heavyweight championship of the world. Moore had been knocked down just before the bell. Johnson unable to press his advantage. Johnson is 10 years younger than the champion. Archie Moore is 37 years old. This is to be the climactic round, and it spells sudden and almost unexpected defeat for Johnson. Johnson is down. The referee waves Archie Moore over, looks to the knockdown timekeeper, and begins his count. Referee stops the fight. After 56 seconds of the 14th round, Archie Moore is the winner by a technical knockout and still the light heavyweight champion of the world.
Now it's Olsen in white trunks, moving in on Moore, trying to back Archie into a corner. But Moore, wise in the ways of the ring wars, slips a lot of punches and holds on. Moore won the world's light heavyweight championship from another great boxer, Joey Maxim, in 1952. Olsen won the middleweight title 2 years ago from Randy Turpin. Olsen fighting a careful fight against Moore. Moore gets off a flurry of left uppercuts in close, and those punches hurt Olsen. Tonight, Bobo Olsen is trying to become the second man ever to hold both the light heavyweight title and the middleweight title, since the two titles were held by Bob Fitzsimmons, although not simultaneously, over a half a century ago. Now Moore gets Olsen against the ropes, and Archie's quick hand score with a short left. Another left, and Olsen is down. Bobo valiantly struggles to clear the cobweb as he vainly attempts to get to his feet. (1958), Montreal, Canada. Light heavyweight champion Archie Moore runs into a rough Yvonne Durrell. A short right drops Archie early in round 1. Can Archie Moore weather the storm? Moore is in the best shape of his career, as we will see as the fight progresses. Durrell sends victory and rips bruising combinations to the body and short rights to the head. Moore calls on all his know-how in a ring career that began in 1936. In that time, he's KO'd better than half of his more than 125 opponents. Moore is hurt, tries to cover up, and a left and short right sends him down again. In round 5, Durrell continues to pour it on. Moore against the ropes, takes a right and short left hook and goes down again. In round 7, Durrell suddenly tires and Moore comes on. It's Moore working quickly with short punches to the body, then switching to the head. Moore knocks Durrell down with a left and right and left. Now Durrell is in trouble. In round 10, the tide has changed. Moore in command. Now it's Moore, the clever boxer puncher. Moore with a short left, right and left. Again, Durrell is down. The referee picks up the count over a tired game Durrell. But he's saved by the bell. In round 11, light heavyweight champion Moore gets home again with a left, and defeats Yvonne Durrell, coming far behind and almost out in round 1 to do it. As Moore would remark after the fight, this was my finest hour.
Archie Moore was a real professor in that ring, wasn't he?
That truly was his finest hour that night, Kurt. He was a tremendous champion and good enough in the heavyweight title bout with Rocky Marciano to knock Rocky down in the second round, you know, have him in real trouble, even though later on he got knocked out. Archie was a tremendous fighter, a tremendous boxer. I think his main trouble was in making the light heavyweight limit.
How do you figure he lasted that long?
I think he was just unique. Ray Robinson lasted a long time. A lot of them did. Archie took good care of himself. He had a special way of training. He was always ready. He had to be in shape for that fight with Durrell. Few thought he'd come out for the second round.
All right, now we're going back into the early 1920s. Another light heavyweight champ battling Siki.
Now round 3 of this 20-rounder between champion Georges Carpentier and battling Siki. Siki's down. Up at 7. Carpentier is down. Up at 4, gasping for breath. Those body blows hurt him badly. Siki is over anxious. Round 6 of this 20-rounder between world champion Georges Carpentier, the Orchid Man, and the wild Senegalese battling Siki for the world's light heavyweight championship here at Paris, France. There it is. Those hard body punches following that terrific uppercut to the jaw. Carpentier is completely out. The count is mere formality. He's not even trying to get up. He took a terrible beating. It's all over. Battling Siki is the new light heavyweight champion of the world.
Battling Siki, a busy man in the ring.
Very busy, Kurt. However, as with so many champions, the night he won the title was his greatest night, and from then on it was downhill. Shortly after winning the title from Carpentier, Siki had to be a very brave man. He went to Dublin, and on St. Patrick's Day in 1923, I believe it was, fought somebody named Mike McTeague. Now, can you imagine fighting an Irishman in Dublin on St. Patrick's Day? Naturally, he lost the decision.
You'd have to be a very courageous man.
He was brave. Didn't do too well in this country.
All right, now let's run down the light heavyweight division. You, Don Dump, you're not going to have a vote, you or I, in the final show, which will premiere on May 11th, where the Boxing Writers of America are going to narrow down in each division the 3 greatest champs. At the end of the show, we'll then announce the greatest boxing champion of each division. But who's your pick in your own mind as the best light heavyweight of all time?
Well, Gene Tunney didn't fight enough in the division and never had a clear claim to the title, nor did Harry Greb, but these were 2 of the finest, no question about it. Bob Foster, Billy Conn. Foster fought a lot in the division. Conn didn't. He jumped almost in the middleweight, won the light heavyweight, and then right into the heavyweight. I think if I have to be pinned down to one person, I'd pick Archie Moore. He had the title so long and was such a great fighter.
I'd have to agree with you. I think you'd probably rate Foster right up there with him.
I would indeed.
But again, durability, longevity, the number of times he defended the crown, and a very colorful figure in the ring and for boxing, Archie Moore.
Not only that, but very smart in the ring, very smart.
Kurt Gowdy, on behalf of Don Dumphy, thanks for looking in.